Hello and welcome to Silvaplana for the last weekend on the FIS Freeski World Cup Park and Pipe Tour. I'm Gaz Vessenberg, and thank you very much for joining me on this beautiful day here in Switzerland. We are just about to get ready to start the last Slopestyle finals of the season and award the Crystal Globes. So the stage is set. We've got women's and men's slopestyle finals coming up very shortly on this gigantic course here in Silvaplana, host of the 2025 World Championships. This time last year, Silvaplana has hosted the season finale of the World Cup Tour from 2012 all the way through to 2024. And it is a wonderful place. Beautiful views from the top. The weather nice and clear today. It's not been quite the same all the way through this week. We've had some difficulties with the schedule, with the wind coming through, causing a little bit of a change around. The women's only got their qualifications done this morning. Top 8 going through to final, and Kirsti Muir was in that top place spot. In the men's side of things, Henry Sildaru from Estonia qualified in top place of the 16 men progressing through to today's finals. It's a 2-run final, best run counts. And this is a lengthy slopestyle course comprising of 8 features split into 7 sections. Stop number 13 if we include all the halfpipe and the big air results as well. It's been a jam-packed tour from start to finish. Kirsti Muir and Böckerud currently in the yellow jersey as the overall tour leaders, and we will crown the Crystal Globe slopestyle champions later on today. Böckerud is a healthy lead in the men's. Kirsti Muir not quite as healthy a lead in the women's, but still a little bit clear of Elena Gaskill, who didn't make today's finals. So Kirsti Muir gets a bit of breathing room at the top. Lara Wolf will be her main contender, and just as a reminder, it's 100 points for the win, 80 points for second, 60 for third, and we work our way down accordingly with a little spreadsheet to try assist with the maths as we go through. If Kirsti Muir finishes in the top 2, she's guaranteed that Crystal Globe. On the women, she'll be the first British female free skier to win the slopestyle Crystal Globe. And Zoe Atkin, fellow teammate, is in the running for the women's halfpipe Crystal Globe tomorrow. In the men's side of things, Sebastian Scherdevet didn't make the top 16 men going through from qualifications. Böckerud leads the way. There's a couple scenarios with Henry Sildaru, Mira Tabanelli, and Mac Forehand mathematically able to get the result, but it often depends on Böckerud's finishing position. A podium for Böckerud would guarantee his 7th Crystal Globe. So he's taken 2 overalls, 3 big airs, 3 slopestyles, and 1 big air Crystal Globes to date. The most successful free skier in terms of Crystal Globes. Can he add number 7? We'll find out over the course of the next couple hours. As you can see, the weather, beautiful blue skies, perfect slopestyle conditions, not too hot. A little bit of a breeze blowing, but not too strong. It's certainly been breezier and foggier here in the past, but 700 meters, almost a kilometer, 3/4 of a kilometer of riding from top to bottom across these 7 sections, with section 6 being broken down into kind of a roller and a rail section as well. So we'll be working on a section by section. Excuse me, voice just cracking early on this Saturday morning. Working on a section by section judging format, so each section will receive a score out of 9 points, totaling 63 points total. There's Adam Frizel, Swedish judge, Olympic judge from Beijing 2022. He's your head judge. He's currently missing his judging panel. I'm sure they're just getting ready outside. It's that last minute toilet break. Grab a coffee before things get underway. But very experienced panel. You got the likes of Victoria Beattie from Australia. She was on the Olympic panel for, there they go, finally arrived. Victoria Beattie there, yeah, from Australia, one of the Olympic head judges. This was Adrian Geiser on our near side as well. He was the head judge in teen last week, so very experienced judging panel with a wonderful Carly Parker, who's the FIS technical delegate in kind of control of all the safety and a lot of the logistical aspects of this. Wonderful lady, does a lot for snow sports. She's been on a little 2-week Euro tour after being in teen last week as well. So let's check out the qualification runs from earlier on today. There we go. Some fantastic runs from qualification, which was earlier on for the women's, as I mentioned. For the men's, took place midweek, 2 heats, top 8 from each heat qualifying through. And we'll be starting with run 1 of the women's. Then we'll go into run 1 of the men's, back to run 2 of the women's, and then finishing off with the second run of men's. And here's how the start list looks. So dropping in reverse qualification order. So Kirsten Muir, Sarah Höflin, and Julia Tano were our top 3 from qualifications, and they have the luxury of dropping in last. They get to see what the field is. Has already put down on the line. Kirsten Muir in yellow as that top-placed top-placed athlete in the overall standings. Then Korvac, Silvaplana, beautiful place to go riding if you've not been there. It's only a few hours train ride away from Switzerland, and that train ride is one of the top 5 train rides in the world. It's a beautiful one. We took it last year on the way down from the World Championships, and the views are just phenomenal. Of course, the judges here will be looking at 5 different criteria throughout the entire run. They'll be looking at the difficulty of the tricks, so focusing on the number of rotations, the axis, the grab, all the kind of the mechanical aspects of the trick. They'll look at the execution as the next criteria, so that looks at the control, stability. They want to see the tricks grabbed all the way through the rotations in the air, locked to the end of the rails, not slipping off early. They'll be looking at variety, particularly on a long course like this with 8 different features across those 7 sections. They'll want to see different directions, so looking for your lefts, your right, your switch left and your switch right. Again, mixed with the different axes, the different grabs from top to bottom, so it's really looking at that overall kind of flow throughout. Amplitude is obviously, of course, a key criteria on those jump features, going nice and big with a nice trajectory, good pop deep into the landing, not super low and flat. And then our last criteria, with it being free skiing, is progression. So looking to reward any elements of the tricks that are progressive, whether that's an extra rotation, a different axis, or particularly in free skiing now we're seeing those kind of butter or tail butter takeoffs as well to add a little bit of difficulty into the trick. So Avery Crum will be our first athlete out the gate. She opened up teen big air slopestyle finals last week, and she'll be doing the same again today here in Silvaplana. Just her 5th World Cup start in her rookie World Cup season. Finished 4th in Lax. Best result of her World Cup career. Starts off back 2 out of the top of the wall ride, nice and deep into the landing, coming into the second section with the misty 450 out. Nice amplitude, taking that more difficult rail on the far side with a little flat to up into the switch left bio 9 with that mute grab, a little bit short on the amplitude but nice and clean on the execution. Into the right side 7, a little bit backseat, just about hangs on. How is that going to affect the speed going into this 3rd and final jump? Doesn't seem to make too much of a difference. Gets that one through cleanly now into the trickier rhythm section. The little switch butter 3 over the first roller and can't quite hang on. Disappearing off the side of that section. So just missing out the last 2 rails. So not going to be the score that Avery Crum wanted to put down for her first run. Just got a little bit tangled up coming out of that switch butter. But jumps were looking pretty nice, a little bit deep on to the back of the skis on this one, on the 720. Missed the grab a little bit, and you see that not getting the weight over the tips of the skis and landing nice and equal. And then the little switch tail butter, but then a little snow snake kind of got to just rip that ski away. Not able to finish the run.
That's a great feeling.
28.79.
As of now, we will definitely see some heavy scores coming in when we go down that field. Sending it back up to you, ladies and gentlemen. Next rider indicates dropping in number 6.
So next up, Annie Karava, 50th World Cup start. What a way to finish the season. 50 different World Cups across slopestyle and big air. Won the Beijing Big Air at the start of the season. Took 47 World Cups to get to that point, but starting off the run nicely with the back 2 out, taking the near side rail with a switch up, out to switch. So a little bit of technicality on the rails. Into the first jump switch. Switch left 9, really nice grab on the tail of the skis there. A little bit of a corked axis, so same rotations we saw from Avery Crum, but just slightly different axis. Into the Bio 7. And finishing off with the dub 10. Perfectly landed for Annie Carava. Lacing this one together nicely. Sets up with a little 180 over the roller. Switch 2 on and just sitting down on the rail. And then a lip slide to fakie. Lip slide to switch on that last rail section. So another athlete getting caught in that 6th section was so close to putting together the full pull. Taking the back 270 out of that top rail. This was probably the highlight of the run. Dub 10 on that 3rd and final jump. And then here, the switch lip on. And just not able to get the skis fully underneath her, so she'll move into top spot. It won't be by much, still a bit of a crash score coming right at the end. Similar to Avery Crum, but he's got the last rail in there as well. 47.17 for Annie Carava. Just a reminder, all these section scores out of 9. So everything compressed down a little bit. The judge will be scoring each one out of 100, and then the computer system goes all the way down. Next up, though, Megan Oldham, double Olympic medalist from the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympic Games. Took the bronze in the slopestyle, gold in the big air, and starting off with a passion with the front 450 out of that top rail. And the switch up continuing too in section 2 into this long run toward the first jump. Right side 9 with that tail grab deep into the landing, really ticking the amplitude box. Into the switch left 9, I think just about snuck the tail grab in there. Wasn't the best executed, but running through nice and cleanly into the dub 10 with that safety grab. Really great amplitude, mostly decent execution. Little 540 over the first roller, then switched 2 on, 270 out in that same direction. Now final feature, 270 on, 270 out in the opposite direction. Little bit of a wobble on the landing, but that's going to put Megan Oldham up into the top spot for sure. First full pull of run 1.
Olympic gold medalist in big air.
So here into this first jump, the right side 9. So starting to get the directions through there as well. First to the right and then switch left, and then following up with the dub 10 as well. So might have just missed the grab there, so our eagle-eyed judges will be a little bit critical in that one, as they have to be. Execution is part of the name of the game. Big on the dub 10 to the left.
There was a lot of good in that run for Megan.
We'll see how those composition judges look at this one. With a run with that kind of variety in there, they will have to take the execution into account, though. It is a bit of a mathematical scoring format, so the judges have to be careful of how they place the scores.
True. They got the fur.
Taking a seat on the hot
He comes out 57.05, and you can see straight away from those sections, the second 900 coming in just at the 3.3 mark. So that miss grab really being crucial. Lara Wolf now finished on the podium last week in teen. Drops in for 26th World Cup slopestyle. Has the front 4 out. The switch up continuing too on the second section. Left cork 9 with that tail grab. Second place here in the World Championships last year. Straight into the Bio 9. Again, maybe struggling for that safety grab on the near side. Then into the right side, dub 10. Hangs onto the landing, a little bit backseat, but still surviving through. Switches it round on the roller, and then the switch 2 on. Pulls it back to forward. Execution just slipping off the rail a fraction. And then the switch up, front 2 out on that far side rail. So Lara Wolf pulling together a full run. Couple of little mistakes that she'd like to tidy up, no doubt. I think this one is probably going to sit just behind Megan Oldham. Really nice with the front swap continuing too. The right side, dub 10 with that Cindy grab, so the safety grab just behind the heel cup of the binding. Lara Wolf does need a good score here. She wants to be in the contention for that Crystal Globe. It's kind of advantage Kirsten Muir's way with the 35-point advantage she's got before coming into today's competition. But if Lara Wolf can get herself on the podium and Kirsty can't put a run together, then the Crystal Globe could go the way of Austria.
I don't know what's going to happen in run number 2, because that was sick already. All right, Lara, score is about to drop.
So waiting for the judges' scores, and it's a little nervous wait. Often means it's in a bit of contention for where it's going to sit. Is it going to take over the lead from Megan Oldham? Yes, it does. 60.22. Didn't have as high section scores in certain sections as Megan Oldham, but that consistency from top to bottom paid dues compared to Megan Oldham's miss grab. Now, on to Maria Gaslida from Italy. Was in her first World Cup Big Air final last week. Comes into her first World Cup Slopestyle final here in Silvaplana. Nice back 450 out of that kink trail on the far side. 450s in opposite directions on those first two jumps, first two rails, sorry, into the switch. 540 on jump number 1, carrying tons of speed into jump number 2. Big right side 7 with that blunt grab on the tail of the skis. Follows it up left side 9. So not having the same level of difficulty across the jumps as we've seen, but nice execution. The little tail butter 360 out. Switch 270 on and just not able to catch onto the rail. Reverts out of the landing. I think she wanted 2 on, continuing 2 off. Only came out to switch and had to revert around, and that little mistake doesn't look like much, but on these kind of courses, that's going to be very significant in the total scores. Is this the right side 7? Just catching inside the tail of the skis. The judges do like to see it capped on the top, but as long as there's a clear grab, that's always nice to see. I mean, this the little mistake. So switch 2 on and just never locks into the rail. Wanted to come out forward, came out switch, has to revert round into that final section, and that's not going to go the way that she wants to. But she got run 2 to pull that together.
Run number 1, you have a second run, Maria.
That's it, first time in a Slopestyle World Cup final. First time here in Silvaplana as well. 34.57, just drops down into 4th place. Now the first of our Swiss athletes to drop. She ended her 5-year drought on the World Cup podium last week in the Team Big Air. Finished in 3rd place. Can she get back to that podium way once again 1 week later on? Front 450 out of the top rail, beautifully locked right on top of the wall ride. Back 450 out of the second section, so matching the same sort of rail tricks we saw from Maria Gaslida. Landed a little bit short on the knuckle. But then deep into the dub 10, beautifully landed, a little bit flatter trajectory in terms of the amplitude, but execution was there. Into the right side 9 with that tail grab, so nicely linked together combinations in the jumps. The little switch 360, switch 270 on to switch, survives that tricky section. 1 final rail trick left to go. Continuing 2 out of the switch slip, and that is the kind of run that might see Giulia Tano back into podium contention.
That's right.
32 World Cup stars, and Giulia Tano lacing it together that one really nicely. So getting the grabs on all the tricks on those kicker sections, a little bit lower on the difficulty, but execution is going to pay dividends. We'll see where this score puts it in the overall standings. Lara Wolf currently at the top with a 60.22, very similar jump run didn't look quite as tidy. This one certainly seemed flawless from top to bottom. No mistakes that I could pick out. Obviously, as a spectacular armchair judge over here. 70.53 and Giulia Tano into top spot. Really coming back into her own. Another Swiss athlete next to drop. Sarah Hoflin was the 2018 Olympic champion in Pyeongchang. Starting off really nicely with the back two out of top wall ride into front 450 out of that near side rail. Not quite getting the same level of pop and control out of that rail, but linking it together straight into the dub 10, starting the kicker combination with a means to get those higher scores into the right side 9 with that mute grab. One final jump, switch left, dub 10, puts it down. A little bit of a reverse snow piano at the end, but this is coming together really nicely for Sarah Hoflin. Switch 360 over the roller, switch 270 on into that rail, beautifully locked, and then the switch lip 2 hangs on and comes out switch, and that is going to be a challenger for the top spot as well. The Swiss team lacing their first runs here in Silvaplana on home snow. This possibly the only little mistake, not even much of a mistake, just lacking a bit of amplitude coming out of that front 4. I'm going to go carried away with the trickle in there. It might really be a 540. We'll find out when we get through to the final scores, but 10s in both forward and switch directions is going to favor nicely in terms of the overall difficulty of the run and the progressional aspect.
Oh yeah. She's back.
I think it was just a 540. There's confirmation. 80.07. Sarah Hoflin takes herself up into the top spot above a teammate.
We're back in love.
One final athlete in women's run number 1, and it's our overall tour leader, Kirsty Muir. Taking 3 victories in her World Cup slopestyle career. Teen this season, teen last weekend, and Aspen at the start of the year. So coming off pretty good string of winning every slopestyle World Cup she's started in. Coming in switch with the pretzel 270 out on that top rail section. Front 6 out of the second rail section, so really building the run together nicely. Switch bio 9, kind of almost misty 9, reaching back for that tail grab into the first jump, straight into the right side, double 10. A little bit short on the safety, but landing beautifully clean. Into the left side 9. It's a good jump combination. Little switch 360 over the roller. Switch lip 2, 270 out. Beautifully locked, as you'd expect from a rail skier as good as Kirsty Muir. And then the 270 on, continuing 2 out. And Kirsty Muir puts down her challenge for another World Cup podium. She's currently in that top spot, needed in the overall standings. Needs a first or second to guarantee the Crystal Globe for the slopestyle. Nice and tech through the rail sections with that switch onto that wall ride. Just missing the grab, eventually gets it on the switch. Bio 9. That was the only little mistake in there. The rails at the end, beautifully locked. Allison, the Team GB physio, looks on. What did the judges have to say about that run? Sarah Hoflin sits at the top, 10 points clear of a teammate, Giulia Tano. Kirsty Muir into second place, 75.54.
Nice.
Just that little short grab on the cork 9 is the sticking point in terms of the section scores. on the Bio 9, sorry, and the 3.51. So a couple points left on the table that she can tidy up and bring into run 2, but it's Sarah Hoflin leading on home snow, ahead of Kirsten Muir and ahead of her teammate Julia Tano at the end of run 1.
Annika Rava 6, Maria Costa in 7, and rounding out our top 8, Avery Coop from the United States of America. We're going to continue with the
If it stays as it does, and Kirsten Muir takes home the Crystal Globe as the overall champion of the slopestyle. Next, into the men's. Big Swiss contingent in the first half of the field. Mateusz Schwanzer will be our first one to drop. Miro Tabinelli won it last week in teen, his first slopestyle World Cup victory. And then you have the Norwegian contingent alongside the Americans in the second half of the field. Norwegian Freeski team doing wonderful things this season. Berkerud in the yellow as your overall tour leader, second highest to qualify on this midweek qualification. Finished second in teen last week. Did pick up the Olympic slopestyle gold medal in Livigno just a couple weeks ago, so can he add to his resume? Mateusz Schwanzer took his first slopestyle World Cup win last year in Stoneham, picked up bronze at the Olympic Big Air. And he had one appearance in Silvaplana before. Takes his first run here in Silvaplana. Switch 270 on, switch up, continuing 2 out. Nice and tech at the start. And then just slipping off that rail early. You heard the noise of the rail. It looked like he was trying something very Mateusz Schwanzer and unique into the dub 14 on jump number 1. Tuck in for as much speed as he can. The little pullback creativity shining through on jump number 2. Into the switch trip 14. Just about gets that rotation round. Little layback, but from a switch, and then switch 2 on, continuing 2 out of the rail section. Mateusz Schwanzer, huge gap 450, pretzel 270 out. And that was a slopestyle run with a sprinkling of Schwanzer from top to bottom. One of the more unique free skiers in the game. And that had a little bit of everything. Had the tech difficulty with the 14s. This is the mistake, going for that backslide and really having to kind of pirouana his way out of that rotation. But rather than that, execution was pretty good. Holds the grab on the switch 14 for almost too long, coming up a tiny bit short on the rotation. But by a tiny bit, I mean maybe 10, 15 degrees. So we'll see how the ski judges take that into consideration. This is always a tricky one for the judges to score. First one out of the gate.
All right, score is about to drop from Monterey.
And that run blew my mind a little bit. I'm sure it didn't blow our judges' mind. They're all pretty switched on individuals. Very passionate free skiers. Live and breathe the sport, and always great to have them at an event. They put a lot of work in behind the scenes to these judges.
I haven't done that trip in
Don't always get the rewards that they should.
2 years.
Arguably one of the hardest jobs in the sport, outside of being an actual athlete. Trying to evaluate and break down every single bit of detail. It's looking nice and calm. No screaming and shouting yet. 62.24 for Mateusz Schwanzer.
Oh, that's not that
Jackknife front 4. Not quite getting rewarded as it could have done. Just lacking that little bit of execution, which is obviously partly the name of the game. Max Mulfat, now from Canada, he joined me in the commentary booth at the World Championship Big Air last year here in Silvaplana. A man with a lot of experience on the World Cup Tour. 35 World Cup slopestyle starts, only one victory, and that came back in 2019 in that pre-COVID era. But taking the wall ride with a little butter cork 450 out Switch 270 on. Pretzel 450 out with a little tweak on the second rail section. Into the dub 14 with that safety grab. Just opens up a little bit towards the end. Follows it up. Right side 16 with the tail grab. So building the difficulty through the rotations. Into switch right side. Dub 14 and just over rotating. Hops up into section 6. He knows the run's done. Little stylish bit here for the crowd, for the viewers as well. This is what we're here to see. And Max Moffat just easing stees from top to bottom. Just that little mistake / crash on the last jump, but was pulling that one together beautifully well. If he can lace that together in run number 2, this could see him really nicely there. Just reaching for that tail grab. Kind of got it at the start of the rotation, but missing that grab just really does throw you for a loop. Might be an overly British saying. And there gets the 14 round. Tries to look under his left shoulder to stop the rotation, but can't stop physics, unfortunately. It's 28.68 for Max Moffat. The one that he'll try put on the back burner. Jan Aldri Bollinger from Switzerland. First of a Swiss contingent. Drops in for his first run here in Kovac. Coming in, switch 270 up. 270 out in the same direction, just lacking a little bit of execution, slipping off that rail early. Right side 2, pretzel 2, beautifully stalled in the air out of that donkey kick rail. Right side dub 12 on jump number 1. Coming up a little bit short on the knuckle to the switch left dub 12. And left trip 16. Just about hangs on. The judges will check the replay on the landing. Was it just slamming on the brakes? Little butter, switch 5 of the roller, and then the nose butter on 270 out of the rail. Creative line on the final rail, 270 in, 270 out in that opposite direction. So what he lacked a little bit in terms of difficulty on those first 2 jumps, Jan Andri Bollinger really pulled it together on the rails. I really hope we get to see a replay of those last 2 sections. So the style on this, just stalling that rotation out. A little tail grab into the trip 16. This landing, the judges will just look to see whether he had full control or whether he kind of over-rotated and disguised it as a bit of a speed break. And then there, the little butter off the first takeoff, then the 270 on, press 270 out. So Jan Andri Bollinger really pulling together something a little bit different here in front of his home crowd. Judges with their thinking caps on today. And a course like this, with this many sections, does add a little bit of complexities into the judging formats. That's why those sections are out of 9 instead of 10, as they normally are, with that extra section. This comes in at 72.02. Takes the lead away from Mateusz Vanzer. Just lacking a bit of difficulty on that top section with that execution slipping off early, but heading that scores across the 6th to 7th range. And just the 12-12 combo at the start of the jumps could be what holds him back. Onto another Bollinger. This time, Nicola. Just his 10th World Cup start. First World Cup of the season. Switch 2 out with a little switch up 2 at the end. And switch lip continuing. 8-10 out on section 2 is really high with the rotation. Look like the nose butter 14 coming in a little bit short on the amplitude, but that is the case with those nose butter takeoffs. Into right side double 12 again, coming up short. That amplitude criteria just not quite getting matched. And I think he knows it, whether the wind picked up ever so slightly or not, but this is going to be a throwaway run for Nicola Bollinger. Nice 450 on, continuing 2 out though, just to keep a little bit of tech difficulty in there. First athlete to go for the full transfer. Switch ups through the transfer, switch up 270 out at the end. So Nicola Bollinger not able to fully pull that one together. We'll see if we get a replay of the first 2 jumps just to see if anything went wrong in the takeoff. It looked like he was going for that nose butter. There's the little switch up with the 270 out. Whether you call that a switch up or just an early 450 with the tap. It's there. See, reaching for that Japan grab. Coming up a bit short on the knuckle, and then it's... There we go. Missed the replay on the one that seemed to cause a bit of the issue where he finished jump 2 just past the knuckle. And, yeah, sacking a lot of speed from the run. And this is a beautiful kind of course. It's a very nice, steep gradient, not like we saw in Livigno at the Olympic course. This one is steep enough that usually if you're a bit short of speed, as long as the wind's playing fair game, you can get it back together. But 46.11 for Nicola Bollinger into 3rd place as it currently stands after 4 athletes. Kadri Rainer, another Swiss athlete. Finished 2nd and 3rd at the World Junior Championships in New Zealand 3 years ago. Front 450 out of that top section. It's his 2nd time competing in Silvaplana, 1st time in the top 16. Beautifully linked together on section 2. Big cork 4 out with the Japan. Winds up, right side dub 14. Gets the rotation fully around. Again, coming up short on the landing, but not quite as bad at his teammate. Into the left dub 12 with that safety grab. Much better amplitude on jump number 2. Then the switch bio 1260. Ski says goodbye, unfortunately. So such a higher rotation to pop onto that bio axis. Kind of, if you look at the Misty as more of the full cork, the bio is kind of halfway there. It's the best way to describe that one. So this is the bit where it went wrong. Bio dub 12 in that switch, coming up just over the tails of the skis at the knuckle, and the ski says no thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are still watching the replay for Kadri Rainer, and we are awaiting the score for him as well, obviously. But coming up next, at his very last World Cup competition, he's going to retire after this, and we're going to party.
So wait to see. There he goes. Kadri Rainer dipping out of the course, 26.81. So into 5th place behind Max Moffat.
To the top, ladies and gentlemen, where is the Bobby Bush fan club? This is his last competition.
And back to the top. Fabian Busch. 68 World Cup starts. This will be at number 68. 68th and final one for a man who's given so much to free skiing. This is his retirement party. 2-time world champion from 2015 and 2019. 8 podiums in his World Cup career. Never taken a World Cup victory. Could today be the day at the very last time of asking. 270 on, continuing 450 out of the top section. Switch 2 on, continuing 4. It's a nice little bit of variety. Similar tricks, 1 forward, 1 switch.
Switch right side, double misty.
Switch right, double misty 12 with the mute and full poke deep into the landing. The right side, double 14 with the Japan. Fabian Busch putting on a masterclass. Into the left side, 16 I think with that tail grab. We'll have to count the rotations on the replay. Little switch butter 540 over the roller. 270 on, pretzel 270 out. Skis getting separated ever so slightly. It goes for the transfer with the switch up, continuing 2. And Fabian Busch with the signs that shout encouragement pulls the full pull together. If you're going to retire in style like Fabian Busch. Definitely the crowd favorite here today. Starting off with this switch 270 up. 450 out. Nicely locked all the way through. And this just highlight of the run. The double bio 12 with that full extension, like the Japan grab in snowboarding. Kind of a more classic mute. Apologies for any language you see on any signs. It's beautiful to see the support for Fabian Bosch out here.
What a day this is. What a beautiful day this is. Oh my God, Bosch is everywhere. This kid is incredible. All right, we are awaiting the score, and we're going to see a second one of him as well.
So we'll see where the score sits him. Could be a contender for that top spot. Currently held by his teammate. 72.02, the score to beat. With the way section by section works, getting a score in the 90s is incredibly mathematically difficult. So you can kind of think of your 80 scores to be how you look at a 90 score on an overall impression format. It's a bit of a waiting time from the judges. It's going to be close at the top, I suspect. 71.83 into second place for Fabian Bosch.
Merci.
A little bit short on points on that last rail section. Just needed a bit more technical difficulty. Adrian Vodo, another Swiss athlete. Swiss team doing brilliantly well on home snow in qualifications. Doing well in the finals, occupying the top, or 3 out of the top 4 spots. So 270 up, Pretzel 450 out for Vodo. His first top 20 finish in slopestyle last week. Big cork 6 out of the King Trail in section 2. The right side, dub 14 with that safety. Nice pop, really good amplitude. Into the left side, double 16 with the tail grab. Beautifully landed, picture perfect execution. Into the switch left, dub 14 with the safety. Sneaks the last part of the rotation round. Gets away with that one. The butter 720 into switch 270 on, 270 out on the down rail, and then the front swap on the transfer. Pretzel 270 out. Front swap, front 2 out of that final X rail, as they're calling it, as it looks like a lovely X from above. So another full pull. Adrian Vodo finished 16th in teen last week. Somehow snuck the 16 in to the mix on the next jump. Here's the second jump. This is the 16, I believe. Really nicely grabbed on the tail. Just drops it perfectly into place. And we'll see. How do the judges weigh things up? .12, just off the podium as it currently stands.
Okay, next one.
Lacking a bit on the penultimate section.
Okay, Miro.
Next up, last week's winner from the slopestyle in teen. Won big air there the year before. Has a victory. One apiece on his big air in slopestyle. Nice deep rotation off the top of the wall ride. 270 in, Misty 630 out. So clocking up the numbers on those first 2 sections. Into the right side dub, beautifully grabbing the tail of the ski all the way through. Into the switch dub, bio 12, and coming up short on the landing. I might have wanted the 14 out of that, but unfortunately couldn't get the 12, needed a little bit more pop. Not to be for Miro Tabanelli. Still cruising through to the finish, but it's going to put him down in the same kind of region. We've got Max Muffet and Fadi Reiner in those 20s kind of scores. Third time here in Silvaplana, yet to take a podium in Switzerland. First two sections went beautifully well. And this Bio 12 looked like he kind of pre-rotated a little bit. Whether he was trying to get the tail butter in there, it's hard to see from that camera angle. I think the judges have a better one to work from. 24.87, and there was the tail butter double bio 1260 that got him unstuck.
The Henderson brothers and sisters competing here today, and now it's time for Mr. Hunter
First
Henderson.
of our U.S. athletes, Hunter Henderson. Man still searching for his first World Cup podium. Got close in Larks in January, finishing 5th place.
I'm stoked that he chose free skiing though, because it's a blast to have him on the tour.
Couldn't quite get himself to the Olympics, fortunately, with that really tough U.S. team to break into. Drops in switch for his first run in Korvach. 270 on with the switch up, 270 out. Switch lip continuing 630 out, so nice big rotations on that second rail section into the right side. Dub 14 with the tail grab. Beautifully landed, a little bit drifting from left to right, but nice and clean on the landing straight into the left side. Dub 16 with the tail grab. So dubs in both directions. And switch 14 just squeaks that one round. We'll have to check the replay and see if that was an 18, but it looked like the switch dub 14, the nice little butter 5, and then butter 450, nose butter 450 onto the rail, and then 270 pretzel, 270 out on that last rail section. Those last two tricks, real mouthfuls to get all the tricks out in the right order. But Hunter Henderson, he's happy with that. Man on the hunt for that first World Cup podium. That could have been the run that gets him up there for sure. It's dub 14 into dub 16 on the jumps. Perfectly positioned on that final landing. I have to check my my own trick identification. Some of these rotations are getting absolutely enormous, and they make it look so easy, but it is anything but.
Everybody's got to come. Come on, everybody.
So it looked good from the run. A 75.7. The score's good into top spot. And it was the 18 on jump number 3. My apologies for the missed call on that one. And now time for our most decorated slopestyle skier in World Cup history. 24 World Cup podiums to his name. Still searching for that Olympic podium. But a man who's taken 6 podiums of those 24 here in Silvaplana, and just coming unstuck on section 1 with what I think was going to be the pretzel 450 out. 450 on, 450 out on the next rail section, but Andrew Rigetli's run is done before it even starts. Just chilling now. Very smart ski who's trying to pull together all those section scores to get it right, and unfortunately that first section just slipping off, not getting the rotation. And it's not Andrew Rigetli's first run that is going to be putting him onto his 25th World Cup podium. Little hand drag 5. Huge rotations on the rails though. The 450 on, 270 out. Full switch 270 transfer. Rigetli with just a little preview of what to expect in run 2 if that first section goes his way. But really clocking up the rotations in all 4 directions. And they're just not locked onto that top rail. And unfortunately, it looks like such a small error. but the judges will be heavy-handed with that kind of mistake.
Oh, absolutely. Next rider in the game is your Olympic gold medalist in big air. Nordic Combined represent Norway, ladies and gentlemen.
Taking 3 victories here in his career. Seems to alternate on
Next one, let's
win
go.
to podium ratio. It's a 41.84 for Andrew Rigetli. Had a mathematical chance of taking the Crystal Globe for Slopestyle today, but we'll see how it comes down to run number 2. Next up, Olympic champion from the big air, Tormod Frostad from Norway. 2 podiums in his Slopestyle World Cup career, searching for his first Slopestyle victory. Coming off the back of a win in team in the big air last Friday night. 5th time dropping into the Silvaplana Slopestyle course. Switch, butter up the wall ride. Corked 450 out, switch 270 on, pretzel 450 out, keeping up with these rotations as best as we can. Into the jump series, the switch, tail butter, double 12 with the double grab as well. Nice bit of technicality to start things off. Into the nose butter 14, I think just about hangs on. You can see the impact the nose butter has on the amplitude. Then into the double 16 and just almost hanging on and has to revert out at the very end. Somehow still makes the transfer gap on the roller sections. The 450 on gets unstuck, and that is the end of Tormod Frostad's run. But similar to Mateusz Svancer, who opened things up, that run had a little bit of spice sprinkled all the way through. First jump with the switch, tail butter. Second jump with the nose butter 14. And the first rider to go for the transfer gap. So there's the nose butter takeoff, and you can see just kind of coming up a little bit short on the amplitude. And then having to hang on and unable to fully control that landing. Did ski away from it, but under rotation gets thrown around, is just hanging and hanging, and unfortunately Frostad needed an extra half a meter of airtime to get that rotation round cleanly, and that would have seen him into that second to last section.
Next one.
So 43.58 for Tormod Frostad.
I can do better.
He'll be back in run 2 to really put it down. We get up now into our Crystal Globe contenders. Mac forehand, the first one out the gate. Andrew Rigetli had a mathematical chance. Mac forehand's got a bit of a better one. Needs Berkrud to be finishing 7th or lower.
Of course.
270 in, pretzel 450 out for a big air silver medalist from the Olympic Games. Nice pretzel 4 out of the second rail as well. Opposite direction, so good variety showcased in those first 2 sections. Into the dub, and unfortunately just under-rotated and comes crashing out. I think just the dub 12. And Mac forehand getting undone in the first half. So the judges will start working already. Another one with the nice little transfer over. Lovely to see some tricks on that channel gap. And then, like Andrew Rigetli, the huge switch 2 on from the left to right transfer on that X rail. So he does have his second run that he can come back to.
So as of now, it's all good. Back forward, another rider with nerves.
And they're just coming up, unrotating a little bit on 12 or the 16, depending on how fast the rotation was. We'll find out when the judges put the tricks in.
Incredible trickery throughout that run.
I think it was the 16. It looked a bit too fast to be a 12, and that is often my guideline. And there we go. Confirmation that I was incorrect on that one as we went through. 16.76 for Mac Forehand. He'll be back for run number 2. Vebjørn Grobe, part of that flying Norwegian team. Waiting for his first World Cup podium. Third time in the Silvaplana. Starts his run off with a switch 270 on, the switch up 270 out. Into the 270 on, continuing 630 out. Big rotations on that second rail, as we've seen from a few of these athletes. Into the right side. Dub 16, just over rotates slightly, has to correct his course. The switch left, bio 9. And I think that mistake on the first jump just dropped all of his speed out of the run. Usually, as we said, this is a nice steep course where you can regain a lot of that speed if you do lose any point. But I think the wind just played its own little factor with a lip 450 on. And then a bit of a Tokyo drift into that final rail section just for some good old fun and games.
So, a few incomplete runs here in run number 1 from quite simply the best of the best athletes on the planet. Let's have a look at the replay. All started off.
So gets that little switch up to the 270 out on the top rail section. This, I think, is the 16.
We got 3.
And this is the bit that dropped all the speed out. Goes over the 16, almost to a 17, basically. And then that tiny little mistake just reduced all of his speed. He probably wanted the switch bio 12 here. Had to pull the parachute at 9.
Grand finale of World Cup season here in
So not to be in run 1 for Vebjørn Grobe. Joins those crashed or incomplete runs down at the bottom of our range.
All volunteers, and of course the Swiss Army for bringing the good vibe and making such a great job. This is absolutely incredible. Thank you for supporting this beautiful man here at Krovac. Proud Britain, Silvaplana, Semmelitz, Christina, Sills, and all the others around here that bring the vibes. All right, score is about to drop here for Vebjørn Grobe. This is still deliberating hard. I didn't know you drove your car up here, NJ.
So still waiting for that judge's score. I see head judge Adam Brazil there with his hands behind his back. Might be just a technical difficulty if I'm reading that room correctly. They don't look overly stressed. It was just a bailed run, so we could be having just a pause whilst the computers have to do their thing. And 28.43 for Vebjørn Grobe. Down in 10th place at the moment. So 3 athletes left to drop in the men's first run here at our last Slopestyle World Cup of the season. Connor Ralph from the USA qualified through in 3rd place. Hasn't had a Slopestyle World Cup podium since teen in 2024. Just missed the podium at the Big Air, the Olympics, finishing in 5th place. Made the final in the Slopestyle Olympics. Huge tech on the first rail, the switch up and the 450 out. Boosting out of the kink trail on the far side with, I think, a 630 or an 810 out. To the right side, 14. Losing the grab a little bit, but great on the amplitude scale. Into the left side, dub 16. Just unravels like a spinning top at that final part of the rotation, and then squeaks there, almost puts it together. Going for that switch 18, almost had it, was well within his grasp. Lacked a bit of the amplitude, came up degrees short, and just got spat out the bottom of the transition. So not to be for Connor Ralph. Had a sequence of bails here, but look at the rotation out of the top rail with a little switch up into the 450, and then winds up for that high rotation on section 2. And then the 18, you see, gets his skis down, weight still transferred over to the left ski, catches the edge and just gets taken for a car ride didn't have the control that he'd have liked at the bottom of that. Was the 8-10 out of that second rail section. 32.07. 6:30 out the top, so apologies there. Missed rotations coming through left, right, and center. Conor Ralph just absolute wizard on those top few rails. But now, Berkrud, slopestyle Olympic gold medalist in the yellow bib, as the Crystal Globe leader at the moment. Huge out of the top rail. 270 on. Misty 6:30 out of that kink trail in section 2 into the sequence of jumps. Looked like the nose butter 16 into the switch. Right, 14 gets it deep into the landing. Hangs on beautifully well. Berkrud pulling this one together into the switch 16. Little Misty 540 over the roller. Switch 270 on. Switch up, back to forward. One final rail section. Going for the Tokyo Drift. 270 on, 270 out. And Berkrud showcasing why he's got that Olympic gold medal. That was breathtaking from start to finish. Needed a World Cup podium to secure the Crystal Globe, and that might just have been the Crystal Globe heading back to Norway.
We do still have one athlete left to drop for run number 1 as we take a look.
But that was fantastic from start to finish.
Martin, did you see anything wrong with this run? 9.
Looked beautifully put together, had all the hallmarks of a top 3 run, had the difficulty, had the execution, had the progression in there. The variety looked good, different axes, different grabs, all the directions, where all the judges put this in the overall standings. Does Berkrud take over the lead here in Silvaplana, the final World Cup of this exciting 25-26 season?
It was a bit like it was tough.
Holding on to the beautiful grasp hold. Maybe Freeski should check these out for sure. That is how it goes, you know. This is the easy off handle. You can smooth it up, take your grab easier. If you catch the fault out, it's absolutely incredible product. Hey, have a good day over at the pipe. I'll see you
The judges just taking their time on this one.
Hello, Tolja. I'm Omar.
From the body language, looks like the scores are in, and it's just making its way through the system onto our graphics package. Is he into the lead? With just one rider left to go. Yes, he is. Berkrud, 83.52. Sat in top spot of this World Cup final. Sat in top spot of the overall leaderboard. And that puts him in a great position to take home the Crystal Globe. But Henry Silderud does still have the opportunity.
Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Henry Silderud.
Just missed the podium.
Anyone who knows anything knows that it's the best name on the planet, so, you know, he's going to do
Just took the podium in teen with a 3rd place last week. Comes on switch 450 out, switch up 270 out on that top rail. He's just seen Berkrud put down an absolute heater, and Henry Silderud following suit as it currently stands. 450 on, 450 out of that second rail section into the dub 14. I think reaching for that Japan grab. Execution flawless into the dub 16 with that tail grab. Nice and high rotations into switch 14, switch dub 14 again with that blunt grab. So high level rotations all the way through. Floats his way over the roller. 270 switch up, 450 out on that down rail. Switch Tokyo Drift up, the switch up, and the 450 out of that final rail section. Everything happening in the blink of an eye. But Henry Silderud just rose to the challenge that Berkrud laid down. Silver medalist in the halfpipe. at the Olympics. One of the few Freeskis to do all 3 disciplines still.
The Olympic silver medalist from Milano Cortina just a couple weeks ago.
That was just
Type, that is.
mind-blowing from top to bottom. There we go. There is that Japan grab on the dub 14. Landon's picture perfect every single time. Just losing the tail grab. That could be the mistake that cost himself the top spot. And then the switch up to 450 out of that final rail section. A man with lightning fast feet.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? We're waiting to score for Henry Silvaplana from Estonia. Silver medalist.
So the judges just taking a look at that run, seeing about that short grab. Could be pretty costly on section 5. It is just a 3.6 on that section. On the 18, actually, 71.97 for Henry Silvaplana into 4th position. So apologies on that one. I didn't quite spot the 18, but there we go, the short grab. And Birkerud leads the way after run at number 1. Hunter Henderson in 2nd. Gian Andri Bollinger in 3rd place at the moment, on route to his first World Cup podium if it stays like it does. And if it stays like it does, Birkerud will walk away with that crystal globe. Doing the maths, if Henry Silvaplana does manage to get himself above Birkerud, he needs someone else up there as well to gain enough points on that overall standings to take away the crystal globe from Ruud. Back to women's run number 2 here in Silvaplana.
Der ganze Welt, glaube ich. Und so, in ein paar Minuten, wenig Sekunden
So there we
geht's
go.
los.
Sarah Höflin currently leading the way, ahead of Kirsty Muir in 2nd and Julia Tano in 3rd. And this is the way to end what has been a very dramatic and exciting season from start to finish. We kick things off in Stubai in November, and 5 months later, we are just wrapping things up here in Silvaplana, and Avery Crum has the honor of getting run 2 underway. Got a bit unstuck on that roller section towards the end of the run in her first run. Can she make amends for it in run number 2? We are about to find out. The rookie who skied well all season long finished 4th in the big air in Steamboat. Stop number 3. Starts the last stop. Huge 270 out of that top rail. Beautifully locked right to the end. Going for the misty 450 out of the kink trail. Starting nicely into the switch bio 9 with that mute grab. It's the same start we saw from run number 1. Pulling it together really nicely. The cork 7 on jump number 2. Catching the knuckle, just losing a little bit of speed. You see the flags blowing uphill into the 540, and the judges will look at that landing to see if she did over-rotate. Switch 3 goes better on run number 2. Switch 270 on, pulls it back to forward. Beautifully locked on every single rail. And then the left side 2 continuing 2, and Avery Crum a little wobble midway through the run, but other than that, looking flawless. Someone who's just beautifully positioned on top of every single rail right to the end.
For the last World Cup of the season.
Right to the end. No slipping off early. Not giving the judges any reason to take points away from the execution of the slide. Misty 9 into the sweet spot of the jump. And that's just where the speed then started to suffer. The left 7, or left 5 there, catching the knuckle. And it looks like the momentum throws her into a bit of a revert. And I think the judges are going to be a little critical of that section, as will the composition judges who look at this from top to bottom. How harsh are the judges feeling?
Score is about to come in for every crew.
58.42 for Avery Crum, up into 5th place.
Still in the lead, starting up ahead of Kirsten Muir, Julia Tano. Setting it back up to the top next Friday.
And again, ladies and gentlemen, representing Finland, please give it up.
So Annie Krava taking her second and final run in her 50th World Cup start. Never won a World Cup slopestyle before.
Representing the Ruka, rest in peace, Vappalonis now on course. What's she going to do?
Nice back 270 out of that top rail. Into that slightly flatter rail with the little switch up to switch.
On the second rail now in switch.
Switch left 9 with that tail grab on jump number 1. So good execution, a little bit short on the amplitude. Into the Misty 7 with the Japan grab. Getting separated on the landing, but skis away cleanly. Into the left cork 7 with that tail grab. So decent jump combination from our Finnish athlete. A little 180 setup over the roller. Into the switch lip 270 on. Carves in for the lip. Front 270 out of that final rail section. And Annie Krava had that issue in the roller section in run number 1. Pulls it together the second time of asking. Won the second big air of the season in Beijing. And the bit I love about this run, there's a nice balance of axes through there with the Misty, the cork, and the switch left at the start. So that's something the composition judges who take in the full top to bottom of the run and analyze the variety, the flow, the executions. But tiny bit under-rotated on that final rail section. We'll see how the judges weigh up. She was sat down in 7th place before she dropped, with Avery Crum jumping up the leaderboard. As it close to the podium, it's close, it's not quite enough. 61.38. And Annie Krava just off the podium to finish the season. Just a good boy, and some attention on the side of the slope. Looking nice and warm in that yellow jacket. But next up, Olympic bronze medalist in the slopestyle, gold medalist in the big air. Megan Oldham takes in her second run. Hasn't won a World Cup slopestyle since Bakariani 2022, just after the last Olympics. Starts her run with the front 450 out. Then the switch up, continuing 270, just drifting off that rail slightly, wasn't quite locked onto the top. A costly mistake, potentially. Big right side 9. Just about catches the tail grab on the way through. Into the switch, left side, 900, sorry, with the tail grab. Comes crashing down, and unfortunately not to be for Megan Oldham today. And our Olympic double medalist from just a few weeks ago comes crashing down on jump number 2. Just a switch 900, coming up short at the knuckle. We're seeing that caused a few issues with our first couple of athletes in terms of the amplitude and the speed on that. Catches the knuckle, goes down, unfortunately just gets up and skis away, but 57.05. She stays with her first run score.
For Megan Holden is the 7th place as of now. Sending it back up to the top, ladies and gentlemen. Next rider indicate representing Austria. Make some noise for Lara Wolf. Currently
So Lara Wolf currently
80.07.
sat down in 5th place at the moment. Takes her second run. Will switch up to switch and has to revert out of the landing. I think she wanted the 270 out, but just caught the skis coming out of the rail. And she knows that that run with that revert is over and done, unfortunately. So Lara Wolf will stay with that 60.22. She'll stay down in 5th place. And unfortunately, that pays a goodbye to her Crystal Globe chances. She was in the running. She needed things to go her way a little bit mathematically with the likes of Kirsty Muir and Megan Oldham, who are also in contention. But unfortunately, not to be for Lara Wolf. Picked up the podium in Teen last weekend. Couldn't quite follow it up with a back-to-back podium. Back-to-back-to-back. She finished 3rd in Larks as well. So is looking to start that little streak going. And this landing switch and then have to revert around to forward is just a reason the judges will take a lot of points away. They want to see you landing nice and clean, not reverting round. And 29.31. She sticks with that 60.22. Maria Gaslitter down in 8th place at the moment. Coming unstuck towards the end of that first run. Looking to improve. Door is open for her to clinch her first World Cup podium. Front 450 out of the top of the wall ride. Into the back 450 out, and unfortunately crashes out. Couldn't fully get the rotation round. Avoids the fence. Keeps skiing away, but that puts paid to her second run of the slopestyle. I think she knew there was a chance of a podium within a grasp with the likes of Megan Oldham crashing out, Lara Wolf crashing out. Annie Krava not quite able to get up into the podium positions, and that was an opportunity for Maria Gaslitter, but unfortunately not able to pull it together on that second rail section. It was looking good after the first section. Very talented rail skier. Everything nicely executed. Just this the nicely linked to the top one, and here's the mistake. Goes for that back 450 out, and it shows how awkward those kind of kink trails are. Just catches the nose of the ski in the kink, and it just sets her off balance. So a bit unlucky for Maria Gaslitter. Stays down in 8th place. So Giulia Tano confirms another World Cup podium for the second time in a row after 5 years without one. She's had a variety of podiums in different locations over the years. 9 podiums on the World Cup Big Air. This will be podium number 7 on the World Cup Slopestyle Tour. After 32 starts, guaranteed 3rd place. Big 450 out of that top rail. Into the back 450 out of rail number 2. So 450s in opposite directions to start things off. Into the switch left 5 with that safety grab. Nice big amplitude, but I think knows that just missing that grab or being short on the grab is going to really affect the rest of the run. So taking it easy to cruise through to that 3rd place finish here in Silvaplana. Still going with the switch 3 over the roller and the switch 270 on. So it's guaranteed the 3rd place finish didn't want to risk too much with the wind, and I think that mistake just, she knew it wasn't going to be enough. Seeing the likes of Sarah and Kirsty putting down 9s and the 10s, and I think that 540 was just going to be the sticking point for Giulia Tano, but exceptional on the first and second rails.
Jump number 1. This is.
I think she might have wanted the 9 there, just didn't quite have the set and the initiation to get that extra 360 out the end. So 36.67, she stays with 70.53. Takes her 7th World Cup podium, 2nd weekend in a row. She finds herself up on the top 3 spots. Sarah Höflin, current leader, next one to drop. She's still got Kirsty Muir to drop behind her, so can't quite rest on her laurels. Might have to raise the bar a little bit further. Back 270, out of the top rail. To front 4 out of the second rail. So opposite rotations. Nice mix of variety. But just pulls out, keeps the safety run, sticks with that first run score of 80.7. I think the wind picking up a little bit. And it's always the tricky bit with an outdoor sport. It is that weather issue that comes in. Sarah Höflin still throwing down style.
Absolutely incredible. We have Sarah Höflin on her last rail. Second to last rail. Switch 2 continues to.
Switch 2 on, continuing 2 out. Coming for the switch 270 on, pulls it back to forward. Won't improve her score, but she's got 1 in the bank at 80.07. Might be enough of a standard to set for Kirsty Muir to chase.
This is redemption all the way.
But Sarah Höflin
To a World Cup podium.
never had a win here in Silvaplana. Picked up 2 podiums. Is just 1 rider away from a first victory in Silvaplana. That'd be Slopestyle victory number 4 from 2018 Olympic champion. We'll see what Kirsty Muir has to say about it. Great to see her back on top spot of the podium provisionally with just Kirsty Muir left to go.
In the gate, though, it is the yellow bib holder, Kirsty Muir.
So Kirsty Muir will take home the Crystal Globe. She needed to finish in the top 2. She's guaranteed a top 2 finish here.
I think with this, at least second place.
Needs to tidy up that third section.
Gonna be the world champion, regardless of whether she wins.
Switch by 09 in run 1 was the one that kept it down with just a 3.5 out of 9. The 9 in section 5 was also a little bit lower than she'd have liked. So starts off, switch on, pulls it back to switch, and I think that could have been a little bit of a mistake. Switch slip, 270 out on rail number 2. Comes into her first jump. And just the switch left 5, Japan. She pulls the plug on her run. And it's going to be second place for Kirsty Muir. Second place here. The Crystal Globe for the entire Slopestyle Tour. And the victory is going to go to Sarah Höflin for today in our last Slopestyle final of the season. But Kirsty Muir is going to walk away with the Crystal Globe. She won Aspen, she won in Teen, she's second here in Silvaplana, and quite rightly earns her first Crystal Globe of her career. The first British female to do so on a Freeski Slopestyle Tour. Sits behind Woodsy, James Woodsy Woods, in the rankings for British Freeski Slopestyle World Cup wins.
An absolutely ridiculous glitch in the matrix. It will be Sarah Höflin taking the victory here at home in Switzerland. Great skiing from Kirsty throughout the competition as well, with a broken thumb no less. So let's wait to see. It's going to be official. Let's get the scores. Let's get the scores. George Dawes.
There we go. That is how our podium looks. Confirmation, just the 49 for run number 2 for Kirsty Muir. Sits in second place with that 75.54, and Sarah Höflin takes the victory here in Silvaplana. Kirsty Muir takes second. Giulia Tano is third. for the second time in 2 weeks.
Incredible skiing, ladies.
The Swiss team came out on home snow. Kirsty Muir will take the Crystal Globe.
Taking the win ahead of Kirsty Muir and Julia Tano, 2 Swiss riders on the podium. This is our top 8.
Annie Carava just a couple points short in her 50th World Cup start. Megan Oldham not able to get back to her podium ways from the Olympics in her first contest after the games. Fantastic to see her still skiing, still pushing through after that intense pre-Olympic season that we've had. Let's hear from Sarah Höflin, our winner today in Silvaplana.
Slopestyle World Cup. Sarah Höflin. Sarah, I don't know if I need to tell you this, but this is your first World Cup victory in 6 years, and it's coming here on home snow in Switzerland. Tell me how this one feels.
Oh my God, honestly, very emotional. I had such a difficult season and I almost, just gave up. And before this contest, I kind of knew that I was never going to make it. I had so many failures, like just back to back, that I really struggled mentally, coming in here and believing in myself. And I'm just so happy to be out here. To honestly, just landing a run today was the only thing I wanted to do. And I achieved that this morning during qualies. So landing a second run in finals means a lot.
I was there to see a lot of that, the emotional stuff you went through, powering through it. How proud are you of yourself to be standing here right now as the winner?
So proud. It's really good for my mental health, I think, being here, because it's, when you add so many failures one after the other, after a while you really start doubting yourself, and that's really what I started doing this season. And I really came in here not believing in myself at all. So being back here, honestly, it's just giving me such a boost, and I just want to keep that momentum going for next year. And I still have projects. I still have a lot of good skiing, I think, left in me. I still want to be able to land a run with 3 dubs one day, and it will come. And I'm happy to be here in one piece.
Incredible stuff today. So stoked to see it. Congratulations, Sarah.
Thanks to you. Can I give a shout out to my 2 teammates, Colin Willie and Fabian Bush? They're ending their careers, here, and I'm so proud of you guys. I just want to say thank you for everything. You've been amazing teammates, and it's been such a pleasure riding with you guys, and I hope and I know we're going to ride together again, so thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah.
It's a big congrats to Sarah Höflin taking the victory here in Silvaplana, the last stop of the season. And she spoke about those mental difficulties of powering through failure after failure, and what a way to showcase that here today. 2018 Olympic champion, 6 years since the last World Cup slopestyle victory. Wonderful to see her powering through, and shows the mental toughness of an athlete to be able to come back from all those difficulties, all those failures, as she says, still skiing like an absolute champion. Men's run 2 coming up very shortly. Hunter Henderson in second place at the moment. But leading the way is Børkerud from Norway. Olympic champion. Finished second in teen last week. Won at Lark's slopestyle at the start of the season. Looking to make it 3 podiums from 3 World Cup slopestyle starts. Could be a very winning season for a man who's already our most successful park and bike athlete. Matej Schwanzer, though, will open things up in run number 2. A man with some of the most creative style in the game. Starts off switch 2 with the switch up, 450 out on that top rail section. Going for the backslide, 450 out. Doesn't take that kink trail that caused a couple issues in run number 1.
It's a brand new stunt. We've never seen it before. He learned it a week ago. Onto the kickers. Look at oh my God.
Going for that Tokyo drift pullback on the second jump. That's a trick we've seen in the big air. Pushing things through with the switch 14.
Puts it down. Coming into the knuckles of destiny. Little hand drag one.
And just displaying all his personality out on his skis.
Rushing off speed now. Round the elbow.
And unfortunately just coming up a little bit short on that final rail as he tries to bring the Pretzel 270 back. But a little bobble, but Was it a bit cleaner than it was in run number 1? Had the same level of flair and excitement. The switch up. Continue with 4. And then this backslide front 4 out of it. Straight into the double 14. And then we'll see if we catch the replay of the takeoff. We didn't quite see that one. It was the kind of the Tokyo drift up the side of the takeoff into the switch left 14. This the only major bobble you see coming up short, hand dragging on the rail, and that is going to be a pretty costly mistake when the judges put their scores in. Want it to be locked right to the end. Can't quite pass that one off as creativity, but Mateusz Schwanzer, just one of the most exciting athletes to watch ski. Separates himself from the rest of the field with that individuality, that little personal flair.
Okay, so Mate not quite getting it done exactly as cleanly as he would have liked. The judges will be looking though. He did get 90% of the course completely clean. So I have to see where they go. He didn't want to drone in the air. He's got a terrible fear of flying backs. And
So we'll see how this one comes out from the judges' booth. Still just checking over. Adam Frizzell just making his way along the panel, checking each section's happy with their scores. Hits the magic confirm button. It looks like Scotty Naismith just having a bit of a wander around.
He's deliberating hard here, though. That's always an interesting sign, especially when there was a little bobble in the run. We'll see what goes on.
It's 56.94, that last section, the costly bit. Sucks all the points out. And unfortunately stays down in 6th place. So back to the top for his second run. Max Moffat came unstuck towards the bottom of the course.
Is what he needs to take the lead, and he's definitely capable to do so.
Just crashing on that final jump section. Was putting it together nicely beforehand. Had a 14, 16, 14 combination on the jumps. Approaches this wall right with the butter. Cork 5 out. 270 on. Pretzel 450 out. Into first of the jump sequence. The left side double 14 with that lead safety. Into the right side. Double 16. Nicely grabbed throughout the rotation. Stomps the landing. Picture perfect. Into the switch right, dub 14, and the same kind of mistake. Nearly hits the cameraman. Just drifts. And he knows that was the run coming undone. Came up short on the knuckle, had to bounce the last part of the rotation, and then couldn't control that last part. And sadly to see for Max Moffat, a very passionate skier. Frustrated at himself. He knew that trick was within his grasp. Last World Cup podium came in at Larkson 2004. Was hoping to break that 2-year drought. Started off really nicely with the 270 on, Pretzel 450. It looks like the switch tail butter 450, tail butter 450, tail butter 1440 on that last jump. You see that kind of pre-rotation, the snow kick up, and then gets close to getting it through, just can't stop the rotation. The skis wanted to stop at 14, the body kept going.
There we go. So unfortunately it's going to be 12th place and no higher for Max.
It does improve his score ever so slightly, but
who do we have next?
still going to be down at the bottom of the finals. But next up, a man who's currently sat in a World Cup podium spot, Jan Aldri Bollinger. Sits with a 72.02 at the moment. Has the 2 pretzel tube out of the second rail. Didn't look quite as nicely executed as it was in run at number 1, but building this one together, the right double 12 with that Japan grab to the switch left and just pulls the plug. Knows that mistake on those top 2 rails was going to hinder the score too much. Steezy as you like, though, from a Swiss athlete. Could be with a chance of his first World Cup podium. Little 50-50 on the penultimate rail. Big gap lip on that final rail, and just having a little bit of fun at the bottom of the course. He's going to stay with that 72.02 from run number 1. Still sat in 3rd place. Drastic improvement from the last time he had a World Cup here in Silvaplana in 2024, where he finished 57th. Now with a very real shot at his first World Cup podium. Never been in the top 10 of a World Cup before. And I think that first run is going to be the one that gets him at least into the top 10. I hope for his sake up onto the podium. Confirmation stays with that 72.02. Next up, brother of Jan-André Bollinger, Nicola Bollinger.
Okay, Nico. Drop the needed number 18.
Had one top 20 finish in his career. Is guaranteed a second one today. Will finish at least in the top 16. Had issues on the last jump. Starts off nicely. The switch up. Well, the switch 2 on, the switch up, and the 270 out. Big amplitude. Switch right. Lip slide. Into the front 8 out. And then into the double 14. Gets it round quite nicely with the nose butter takeoff. Into the right side. Double 1260 with that tail grab. And that blunt position beautifully held all the way through. Then the switch left 14. That's where it went wrong the time before. Nice little switch butter 5 into the 450 on, 270 out. Hanging on. Switch up on the transfer. Pretzel 270 out of the end. And Nicola Bollinger in run number 2 puts it together. Was a little bit scrappy in places. Had the excitement factor for sure. A little switch up on the 270 out on that top rail. Landing a little bit askew, but 810 out of the rail section, then into the jump sequence. That's the last kicker, the 14. It's a little bit wobbly in places, but it's going to be in contention. It's definitely going to improve on his 46.11 he had from run number 1.
Score's about to come in.
Alrighty, yes, unfortunately the reverb. We're still waiting for the score.
We are still waiting for the scores, but Nicola Bollinger.
Now the nervous wait begins. As the judges go into detail, breaking down every section.
Nicola Bollinger. The judges are up to something. I don't know what it is, but they're up to something.
So a long wait, which could see him going into the mix.
Judging in progress. I don't know what's happening with the judges.
Adam Frizzell, head judge there in the background, just controlling and managing the panel. He's a lovely human, hung out with him many a time over the years on the World Cup tour. Presses the magic confirm button on the iPad. Where does it slot Nicola Bollinger into our final rankings? Tiny improvement, 46.77. Nicola Bollinger stays down in 8th place. I think there was just that conversation within the judges about whether it did improve and whether it didn't. Kadri Rainer from Switzerland. Next one up. Another athlete who got stuck on that third and final jump. Starts his run this time through. Switch 270 on, 270 out in the same direction. 270 out, cork 450 out. Nice, stylish Japan. Into the right side. Double 16. So changing the run up from run number 1 into the switch left double bio 12. That was the run that caught him out. In this jump on run number 1 into the triple. Just holds on to that one. A little bit scrappy on the landing. Switch butter over into the 270 on, 270 out on that second rail. Grease in this one, top to bottom, laces the last rail, puts the 270 out, and Fadri Rainer in run number 2 puts down a run to be proud of. We'll see how he gets on, but that had a lot of excitement from top to bottom. The style here with the cork for Japan out of that second rail, and then quite interestingly switching things up. Has the 16 on jump number 1, had the 14 there and run number 1, and then goes into the switch bio 12. Not that trick we saw there on the replay. It was the jump just before that. The trick that he fell on jump number 3, moves it to jump number 2. I think has a slight better pop out of that one, and strategic, smart skiing from the young Swiss athlete.
Yeah, we wait for the scores.
Easy, okay, dann. Gosh, thanks.
Okay. Fadri, you happy with your run? Yeah, he's happy. Ladies and gentlemen, are you guys happy with Fadri's run? To make some noise, let's go!
Yeah, here we go. So the scores, we're waiting. Basically a full pull top to bottom. So where are the judges going to go with this one? Don't have a...
This will slot into our kind of top half of the table, I suspect. 55.44 into 7th place. So it was just inside the top half. A little bit scrappy on that roller to rail section. But now, in his final ever run in competitive World Cup free skiing, Fabian Bosch down in 5th place, has a retirement party organized on the schedule after finals. He's a crowd favorite. He's a free skier's favorite from all around the world. Big air champion of the world in 2019. Slopestyle champion in 2015. It's a career that spanned 68 World Cups. Drops in switch for his second run here in Silvaplana. Switch 270 up, continuing 450. Switch right side 270 on, 450, maybe 630 out with the revert, slipping off the rail early. And that is not the run that he wanted. Into the switch, bio 12. The right side, double 14 with the Japan grab. Super clean landing, super textbook. Into the left side, 16 with that tail grab. The switch butter 540 with the Japan 270, pretzel 270 out. One final rail section of Fabian Bosch's career. The switch up, the continuing 4, and skis into a finish. And gets mobbed by friends and teammates. What a spectacular career Fabian Bosch has had. And the pylon in the finish, something we love to see. What a great community. Fabian Bosch take a bow as the curtains close on a sensational career. Might not be champion here today, but he's definitely the people's champion.
Yeah, he won the Slopestyle World Cup.
Congratulations, Fabian Bosch. Very well-deserved celebration at the end of an illustrious career.
Slightly wrong there.
That was the little sticking point, but I don't think you'll mind too much.
He's got nothing to be ashamed of. One of the most successful career athletes of all time. Incredible the run, nonetheless, from top to bottom, and what a career. But ladies and gentlemen, he's not done yet. He will be done on the competitive scene to World Cup. However, I'm sure we're going to see some more from Fabi out there, putting out some of the most creative videos ever made. He was out yesterday skiing with his eggs in a basket, doing some Easter trickery. But yeah, a nice gentleman you could do.
So there you go. Score coming through, doesn't quite matter. Stays with the 71.83 and has a whole career on the World Cup tour to be proud of, to look back on and enjoy. 68 World Cups, 8 podiums, 4 Olympic Games from Sochi, Pyeongchang, Beijing, and Milano Cortina. And what an athlete Adrien Vaudot has to follow. As one Swiss athlete career comes to an end, Adrien Vaudot looks for his first World Cup podium. Huge. 6:30 out of that second rail section into the jump series. The right side, double 14 with the safety. Good pop, good amplitude, super clean on the landing. Straight into the left side, double 16 with the tail grab. Lacing this one together. Beautiful combination mid-run into the switch. 18, I think, and just can't quite hang on. Adrien Vaudot tries the 18 on the last jump, doesn't quite manage to stick the landing. He gets his way through into the finishing area, and that just had the glimpse of what was possible from the young Swiss skier. Takes his first top 20 finish. Sorry, second top 20 finish after being in the top 16 last week in teen. Had the 8-10 out of that second rail. And this was the 18 that got so close. 1800 kind of came up about 1760. And just unfortunately had to take evasive action. It's not to be for Adrien Vaudot today. Sticks with his 55.12. So next up, Miro Tabinelli, winner of the World Cup last weekend in teen on the slopestyle course.
Coming up his first ever slopestyle World Cup win just last week.
Drops in to run number 2 here. Switch 270 on, 270 out on the top rail. Oh, unfortunately just coming up a little bit short on the bio 810 out of that second rail. Still keeps it going with the right double 12 into the switch left bio 9. I think just knowing that that run unfortunately came unstuck at the second rail, and it's not going to be back-to-back victories for Miro Tabinelli. He had an outside chance at taking home the Crystal Globe for slopestyle. It looks like that could go the way of Berkrud. He needed certain cards to fall in the right order, and I think Berkrud lacing run number 1 was not in that playbook for Miro Tabinelli to take home that Crystal Globe.
No shame in that as we get ready up the top, and it will be Hunter Henderson, I believe.
So he'll stick most likely.
Back up the top. Let's have a look at the replays.
Oh, missing the tail grab on, gets it just towards the end on the double 12. Just the awareness to still put that down without being able to get the grab in and compact it through. So sticks with the 24.87 from run number 1. So Hunter Henderson next up, currently sat in second place, needs an 83.52. to get himself into the lead. It's an 83.53 technically.
New Hampshire, ladies and gentlemen. He's definitely got
Bronze medalist from the 2020 Youth Olympics, just over the valley in Les Inns here in Switzerland.
to take the lead now.
Never had a World Cup podium in Silvaplana. 270 on, switch up, 270 out for Hunter Henderson. Switch on into the beautiful cork 6 out. Dub 14 on the first jump, a little bit short on the landing. Straight into the dub 16 to the left. Much cleaner, much better amplitude on jump number 2. Winds it up for the final switch 18. Just hanging on. The little switch tail butter 5 into the nose butter 450 on, 270 out, a little bit loose on the down rail. Keeps it going and just can't quite follow it up on that final rail section. There was a loose thread that just unraveled, unfortunately, for American athlete. Came up a little bit short on the double 14 on that first jump. Followed it up with the 16. A little loose on the 18, but Hunter Henderson really putting it down. So may as well have gone for it. As you can hear Henry Jackson saying in the background, was already sat in second place. Still some heavy skiers to come into the mix. And he's going to have a long wait as we still have 7 skiers left to go. Hunter Henderson stays with the 75.7. Sits in second place. And all he can do now is cross his fingers and hope that that first career World Cup podium comes through. But a man who's not searching for his first World Cup podium, he's searching for his 25th World Cup podium, or his 12th World Cup victory. Andrew Legetli won here 3 times previously. Had a mistake on the top section in run number 1 and has the same mistake in run number 2. And it's not to be for Andrew Legetli. Doesn't get to add to that podium tally. Our most decorated slopestyle skier in terms of World Cup podiums. Going for the technicality. He knew he needed something big to take Berkerud's place at the top. Lays out the front flip for the crowd. Drops the little cork 5. And this is just the style run. The style in slopestyle, as one might say. So, one of his first World Cup seasons without a World Cup podium. He's been dominant in previous seasons. Couldn't quite put it together in 2025-26. Only competed in the slopestyle. Finished 11th in Aspen, 7th in Lark, 6th in Teen. Was aiming for that Olympics. But unfortunately, this will be a season that Andrew Legetli is happy to put behind him. He'll bounce back for sure. He stays down in 11th place. To the top with 6 skiers left to drop. And the first of those, teammate of our current leader, Tomo Frosta, your Olympic big air champion. 5th time dropping into the Silvaplana slopestyle course, taking that kind of more creative line, the switch wall ride. 450 out, switch 270 on, 630 out in the opposite direction. Into the switch left tail, but at 1260 having to hang on and drops the hand, and that might be costly. Into the nose butter 14 on the second jump. And the left 1260 on the third and final jump. So recovered nicely from the mistake. The huge switch tail butter 5 transfer hangs on for the lip slide on the down rail. Use, of course, absolutely maxed out. The 270 on the final rail section. And a little bit too scrappy for a spot on the podium. But what a way to earn a memorable run and a memorable finish to the season for the Olympic big air champion. Going for the switch right tail butter double bio 12 on that first jump. Such a technical trick, even though it's only, in inverted commas, the 1260, hand dragging the land in, and the coaches know that that is not going to be what gets him on the podium, but this, the switch tail butter over the channel gap, terrifyingly big. Not a lot of pop on those roller kickers, and somehow locks it in, but unfortunately can't quite lock in that final rail, so the judges might just improve that score from his first run. It's down as a 43.5, but it's not going to be up on the podium. And Gianna Andrew Bollinger, who's been in third place since the third run of the course, still stays in third at the moment. 43.4 for Tomo Frosta.
Thank you for coming on and showing us your style, showing us your incredible skiing. Thank you, Tomo Frosta. We'll see you.
5 skiers to drop, and Mac forehand. First one out. One of our Crystal Globe challengers needs to put the run down to take the win away, and needs the next few athletes all to put scores better than Berkrud if he wants to walk away with the Crystal Globe. Mac forehand currently sat down in 16th.
Let's go, Mac.
Right 270 on, Pretzel 450 off, little bit off the rail early. Into the switch, right 270 on, 450 out. With that nice little safety grab as well. Jump number 1, the right side, double 16 with the tail grab, lands that one cleanly. That's where the ski ejected in run number 1 into the switch, double 14. Beautifully locked all the way through. And then the switch left, dub 16 on a jump number 3. Beautiful jump combination, goes for the nose butter transfer as well. Exciting from top to bottom, the 450 on. Coming out to switch into one final section, the huge switch 270 gap, Pretzel 270, and Mac forehand with a masterclass of free skiing in run number 2. The huge transfer over the channel, the huge transfer on the final rail. And Mac forehand with some absolute wizardry in the closing stages of today's slopestyle finals. Maybe some tiny mistakes on the rail sections, looking at that section 1, slipping off a little bit early. But let's hope we get a replay of those last 2 sections, because these were just absolutely phenomenal. You see the distance that he's got to clear, adds the nose butter over the channel grab. The lip 450 on. And then this, the switch right gap, Pretzel 270 out. And that is just top to bottom awesome. So where are the judges going to put this one in? Could this be a challenger for the top spot?
In the bottom. Will this be enough for a podium here for Mac forehand, currently sitting?
Searching podium number 10, or World Cup number 4 victory. Looks like he had a little bit of everything. Could be those tiny mistakes that hold him back though. Where are the judges going to go with this?
Got you out there with me today, boy.
Judging in progress. It's going to be a nail biter, ladies and gentlemen.
If you're wondering what Scotty's doing in the booth, Scott Naismith, one of our judges, he's there as the trick caller, puts all the tricks in for the TV graphics. So as he looks casual, calm and collected, it's 78.47 for Mac forehand into second place. Gets himself there for possibly a World Cup podium number 10 of his career. There's a couple riders to wait to see if that holds true. There's some talented free skiers still to drop, none other than Vebjorn Grobet. Another Norwegian athlete in the mix, searching for her first World Cup podium. Best World Cup result came in the Secret Garden Big Air, 5th place. Starts his running Kovac off beautifully well with the pretzel 450 out of the first rail and the huge cork 10 out, cork 8-10 out of that second rail section. Loads up. Fortunately, just coming up a little bit short. A little bit of a landing instability on the first jump into the switch left double bio 12. And then the left side double 16, little 450 or 540 butter over the roller, 270 on, pulls it back to forwards. And then the Tokyo drift, 270 on, 270 out on the final rail section. So again, going for that creative approach. And unfortunately, I think Vebjørn Gråberg's wait for a World Cup podium continues. 35 World Cup starts across the Big Air and the Slopestyle tours. Huge 8-10 out of that second rail section.
Checking out that replay here for Vebjørn Gråberg. There was some excellence in that run.
And then that landing issue is one of the first sticking points. Executional error there. The judges will be critical with.
We are awaiting the score.
Had a little bit of everything. Didn't quite get to see the mistake on the final rail. Goes for that Tokyo drift takeoff. 270 into the rail and then the 270 out that just came up a little bit short.
In the gate here at the World Cup Slopestyle Finals, a beautiful
50.26 does climb up the leaderboard, only just inside the top 10 as it currently stands. 3 riders left to go. One of those our current leader.
Yes, sir.
Connor Ralph from the USA, looking to double his Slopestyle World Cup podiums tally after taking 1 in his career in teen 2 years ago.
Connor currently sitting in 14th place, unable to put his
just missed out the Olympic podium. Huge tech, the 270 on, the switch up, the 630 out on that top rail. Big 810 out of the second rail section. Coming into the first jump now. Right side double 14 with the Mew grab. Getting my snowboard terminology into the mix. Into the left side double 16. Squeaks the last part of the rotation round. Again with that Mew grab. One final jump in this combination. Going for the switch 18 and comes up short at 16. Has to put the last 180 down on the snow. Go for the switch butter with the nose tap on the roller, the 450 on, 270 out on the rail, and the Tokyo drift with the switch up transfer, pretzel 270. So one of those tricks that's you need to be a world-class hip-hop artist to get all the words out in the right order at the right speed. But Connor Ralph, glimpses of brilliance, but it's that revert coming out of the 18 that's going to put paid to his World Cup podium chances. Comes up at 1620, wanted to go all the way to 1800. You see, landing forward and then having to switch on the snow.
Skiers left for the finals of the men's slopestyle.
The coaches know it, the judges all know it as well, and Connor Ralph might improve his score after crashing on that same trick in run number 1, but it's a guaranteed podium now for Böckerud.
About 30 minutes, we will start in the men's and women's snowboard half-pipe finals, the second ever half-pipe competition in this millennia here in St. Moritz. We debuted the new Superpipe at the World Championships last year, and now it is a staple mainstay of the freestyle park here. So
waiting to see where Connor Ralph's second run puts him in. .36 into 11th place, just behind Vebjørn Gråberg, who we just saw take to his core match second run, so not quite to beat for Conor Ralph today. Böckrud currently sat at the top of the rankings, both today's World Cup and the overall season tour. Your Olympic slopestyle gold medalist drops in for his second run. Beautifully laced together on the first two sections, the two in 870 out on both of those first two tricks in different directions. Has the nose butter, dub 12. To the switch, right side, dub 14 with that Japan grab. And the switch left, double 16. Just about gets that safety grab in. Looked like he was searching for it. The Misty 450, or Misty 540 over the rollers. 4 on, coming out regs. And then the Tokyo Drift 270 on and back to forward, and a little bit too scrappy to improve on that 83.52 he had on run number 1, but he's currently sat in the top spot with just Henry Silderu left to go. And I believe that just guaranteed his 7th Crystal Globe title.
One skier left. Böckrud,
second time
Hunter
he's
Henderson
had the slopestyle Crystal Globe.
He could be bumped out if our
Does
last
have a chance of getting another one tomorrow, depending on how it goes with Hunter Hess in the overall standings.
The final scores here for Böckrud, it's not going to improve on his first one score, I don't think, Martin.
I don't think so either, but as you were saying, on the right it indicates one more.
Of course, we have the slopestyle Crystal Globe for the overall in the slopestyle discipline, and then we have the overall Crystal Globe for top points when we look at big air, slopestyle and halfpipe all combined. And Böckrud stays in the top spot here in Silvaplana. Guaranteed first or second, guaranteed the Crystal Globe. Can he take his second slopestyle World Cup victory of the season? Henry Silderu, the last skier to drop, the only one that can do anything about it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
he's got all the technical tricks that he needs.
make some noise for Henry Silderu.
And he put them down when it matters.
Yeah, Team Estonia in the house.
Dropping in switch for his second run. Switch right 450 on, switch up 270 out. Left 450 on, continuing 630 out. The rotation numbers through the roof. Into the right side, double 14 with that Japan, the trademark landings that we've come to expect from our Olympic halfpipe silver medalist. The left side, dub 16, grab held all the way through on the tail of the skis right to the very end. Into the switch left, double 18 with that blunt grab. The switch butter with the little nose tap. 270, switch up 450 out. One rail section left to go. Front swap pretzel 450 out of that final rail section coming on in that Tokyo Drift. And Henry Silderu blowing minds with some of those tricks. We said at the start that he had the tricks in terms of the technical difficulty. The execution to me looked flawless all the way through, and it could be a challenger. 450s on in both directions. And that top rail, or top two rails, which will work out nicely in that composition. They'll take that into account when they look at all the variety and the axes. It goes dub 14, dub 16 to switch dub 18 on the 3 jumps. And the landing on all 3 just barely has to bend his knees.
Check this out.
And the 270 on, switch up, and the 450 out of that down tube.
Technicality at its finest for Henry
A
Silderu.
rail skier that is exceptional in the pipe as well. And
I have no clue.
he had 2 podiums in his slopestyle World Cup career. They both came this year in Aspen and Teen. Second place in Aspen, third in Teen. This is it. World Cup podium number 3 for our Olympic halfpipe silver medalist. Hunter Henderson, down in 3rd place at the moment. Currently sat on his first World Cup podium.
What do you think about the score?
Your score?
Yeah.
Silder nervously waiting in the bottom. I think asking Berkrud about what he thinks the score will look like. 79.41. Henry Silderud into second place. Takes his third World Cup podium.
Good job.
And Berkrud takes victory here in Silvaplana. Mac forehand in third place. Hunter Henderson, unfortunately, just off the mix in fourth, has to wait for his first World Cup podium. But congratulations to our men's podium. Berkrud, Henry Silderud, Mac forehand, putting on an absolute display of free skiing all the way through. Gian Andrew Bollinger got close to his first World Cup podium. And of course, we can't have a look at the results and say farewell to Fabian Bosch after that exciting free ski career. Olympic big air champion Thomas Frostad not able to put it together today. Andrew Getley getting hung up on the top section in both of his runs. So fantastic free ski slopestyle final here. We'll wait to hear from Berkrud, our champion.
Men's winner here at the Silvaplana Slopestyle World Cup, season ender, returning to the site of your World Champs win last year and getting it done once again. Take me through your day.
Wow, it's amazing. First of all, I'm so happy to be standing on the top and even to land my run. I mean, it's beautiful conditions out here, but it was a bit tough with the wind. So to walk away with a great first run, I'm just super stoked about it, and you know, I didn't have the best training. So when you can put it down when it matters, it's just a beautiful feeling.
There's no one on earth who really does put it down when it matters quite like you, and you're doing it here today. And as far as my math tells me, you're walking away with the Slopestyle Crystal Globe, and it should be the Freeski overall Crystal Globe as well. And that puts you way in the lead for the most men's Crystal Globes of all time on Freeski side of things. Tell me about your season.
Well, it's been, first of all, it's been an amazing season. I've been working hard. I've been enjoying it more than ever, which is I'm so hyped on. You know, the results, they've been coming, but I've been basically only focusing on the skiing part, which is, you know, that's the beauty of it, because then you can just keep going and don't get too emotional by the results. So I stay hungry. I'm, you know, like I have Henry here grabbing second today. He's like pushing the level on rails to another level, and it's an inspiration. So I want to stay on my grind and keep working.
Berkrud always bringing the stoke, walking away as the Olympic champion in slopestyle and as well as a Crystal Globe winner. Congratulations, Berk.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's a big congratulations to Berkrud, taking another victory here this season. And to Sarah Hoflin, first time on the top of the podium in 6 years. Many congratulations. Great to see her back on the women's side of things. Kirsty Muir takes second, takes her first ever Crystal Globe. But Julia Tano in third place for the second week in a row. A little bit tricky with the weather at points this week, but it's been a fantastic way to round out the season here in Silvaplana. Confirmation on the World Cup standings there. My maths was correct. Kirsty Muir takes the Crystal Globe after 3 podium finishes this season on the slopestyle side of things. On the men's side of things, Berkrud just held off against Henry Silderud. Take the top 2 spots, Mac forehand. And it was oh so close for Hunter Henderson. Was hanging on to that podium position for a while, but it just wasn't quite meant to be in the end. Very tight with his teammate Mac forehand for that third and final spot on the podium. But a bit of a intense final for sure. Some high level of tricks going through. Beautiful conditions here Fantastic skiing from start to finish, and we've still got one more free ski competition to go. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. Confirmation of the overall standings, and Henry Silderud climbed his way up, but it's Berkrud who will take home the Crystal Globe for the 7th time in his career. As you heard Chad Buchholz say in the winner's interview, strong chance of him taking home the overall Park and Pipe Crystal Globe as well. So 2 Crystal Globes for the price of 1. Join Will Tucker in the commentary booth for the snowboard halfpipe, coming from here in Silvaplana in just 20 minutes or so time.